which is actually a lot lower than most people think, because they think 150 milligrams, oh, that's replacement, when in reality, you produce like What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we are going to be going over another frequently asked question. I figure why not knock some of these out, because I don't really have time to do elaborate videos right now while I'm traveling. So I got this in my comment section on my video the other day. It was, Derek, where do you draw the line between a cycle and TRT? 150 to 200 milligrams of test a week, and do the moderate TRT doses like 150 milligrams not also stress the body? So I said this is a good video topic. I'll try and record it today. I've sort of touched on this before. I've done videos about, TRT dosages, how much you naturally produce versus TRT dosages, how to quantify in actual milligrams what your endogenous testosterone production is actually doing, which is actually a lot lower than most people think, because they think 150 milligrams, oh, that's replacement, when in reality, you produce like 70 milligrams if you're a genetic phenom per week, 70. Realistically, you're probably like 40 to 50 milligrams per week, maybe like 50 milligrams if you're young, with normal-ish testosterone levels. So 50 milligrams, no ester attached testosterone. So with 150 milligrams a week of, let's just say, test E, once you cleave the ester off, you're left with still like a significantly higher amount than you would produce naturally. Now, milligram for milligram, it doesn't necessarily equate to the same nanogram per deciliter total test level on paper. However, a lot of people don't take into account that you drive down your SHBG when you're using exogenous androgens. So when you're using testosterone in a TRT context, especially when you're doing bolus dosages once or twice a week, like traditional TRT administration practices kind of prescribe, you end up driving your SHBG lower than it would otherwise be, which disproportionately increases your free testosterone level. So even if your total testosterone on paper might be 700, 800, your free testosterone, I can almost guarantee, is going to be disproportionately higher than what it would be otherwise if you were a natural producing 700 nanograms per deciliter naturally. So no, it's not necessarily equal. And above and beyond that, the diurnal rhythm of testosterone secretion throughout the day in a natural is not equal all the time. Like, you're going to have different levels throughout the day. There's ebbs and flows. And if you do anything that inhibits your natural hormone production at all, suboptimal diet model, calorie deficit, poor sleep, alcohol, a myriad of different things, like, you're just like nuking your testosterone levels the subsequent day thereafter. And above and beyond that, even if you were on point with everything, you would still be subjected to that diurnal rhythm, where only for periodically throughout the day, you might actually get an 800 nanogram per deciliter like production, and then the rest of it, you might be 500, 600-ish. And above and beyond that, your SHBG is functioning, you're producing it at a normal amount. You're not driving it down with the, synthetic means. So at the end of the day, it's a bit trying to stick to the question here. Where do I draw the line between a cycle and TRT? There's no line, really. It's kind of subjective, because it's like some guys, their version of optimization for TRT is 200 milligrams a week, which puts them at like 1,000 to 1,100 nanograms per deciliter potentially for some guys. Their free T is disproportionately high, and it's not a representation of therapeutic replacement really at all. But, it falls within this arbitrary reference range. So if you're going to define natural versus not, like, the only way you could concretely define it is, are you within the reference range of the general population? Even if you're on the high end of normal, even if it's chronically sustained through the day, we all know that's not naturally sustainable. But you could, if you have to draw a line somewhere between what is a cycle versus what is TRT, what are you going to look at besides, like, you're kind of just, the only thing you could use as a concrete measuring stick would be the reference range. So total testosterone reference range, let's just say upwards of 1,100 to 1,200, depending on how generous the lab is that you're using. And then the free testosterone reference range, depending how generous you're using, it could be upwards of 30. Like, we don't know. Depends what you're using. But once you go above and beyond that, you're in supraphysiological territory. And sure, though, even if you're in the reference range, you're technically supraphysiological if you take into the context of chronically elevated levels, no matter what you do, how shitty your sleep is, how poorly you eat, if you smoke, you drink, you do whatever, you maintain your 1,000 nanogram per deciliter total test, regardless, and you're disproportionately high free test regardless of what you do, and it stays chronically elevated with no ebbs and flows whatsoever, like I would argue that's super physiological. But if you have to draw a line somewhere that's clearly defined for the layman, it would be the reference range. So if your testosterone dose puts you outside of the reference range, then that would be, what a doctor would consider unnatural, I guess. So if you need to, define it in some capacity, like that's how you would do it. As far as, obviously above and beyond that, anything that's not bioidentical, that you don't endogenously produce naturally is, puts you in cycle territory as well, obviously. So if you add in any kind of adjunct, ancillaries or, support, AAS would be, automatically, qualify as, a cycle, even though it's like realistically, you could argue otherwise, but I mean, you couldn't argue that synthetic anabolics or, constitute TRT, obviously, but I just mean, some guys are going to justify 250 to 300 milligrams of test because it's bioidentical as TRT because it was prescribed by a doctor. And it's like, no, dude, it's definitely not. For 99% of people, unless you just have a horrible absorption rate or who knows, there's different things that could factor into that. But for 99% of people, that's not going to be the case. And you're certainly not on HRT if you're on doctor prescribed like nandrolone and anadrol or something ridiculous like that. And we all have seen people who talk about that stuff, and we all know how ridiculous it is. So as far as the moderate TRT dosages, like 150 milligrams a week, does that not stress the body? Yeah, it does. Go look at your HDL, dude. Go look at your SHBG. I can guarantee you it's not where it should be. So does it stress the body? Yeah, it does to some extent. Is it sustainable on a long-term basis? I would probably argue, yeah, for the majority of people. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the most optimal state of health where you are literally equivalent to a genetic phenom who produces the same amount of testosterone naturally. No, that guy, if genetics are 100% equal, that guy is probably going to be healthier because he doesn't have these synthetic factors interfering with steroidogenesis pathways and things that are going to potentially inhibit the secretion of things or the synthesis of other things or throw off downstream cascades of different things and disproportionately spike something else relative to this, lower your HDL levels. Like how many guys even on TRT that you see, like 150 milligrams is not nothing. If you're on a long ester, like I can almost guarantee for the majority of people that's like, it's a lot, okay? So, if you were pinning on a relatively frequent basis and you're not pinning like once a week and then going to check your blood levels like 4 days later and then thinking that, it only shows them like 600 to 700 and you probably still have a disproportionately high free T relative to a natural and all the things I mentioned previously, there are health markers that you are very, very infrequently going to see as optimal. And the main one that comes to mind is HDL levels. Like I very rarely see a guy on 150 milligrams a week or even less than that sometimes. Like you see a guy like 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams a week, is honestly pretty standard for guys on TRT that are, a lot of cookie cutter guys are giving out the 200 milligrams. Guys who are trying to be a bit more potentially, health conscious or just, achieve something that's more representative of, therapeutic replacement rather than like being on a small cycle all the time or kind of, they're starting to like pull it back a bit, go down to, 150, 140, lower than that even. But still, even on that, how many guys do you see with like a 50 plus HDL? Like none, dude, like almost none. It's it's more common than not to see guys with a literally deficient HDL, like not even at the bottom end of the reference range where they're like 45 to 50, but like they're always under. Even for me, I have a hard time keeping mine above 40. And that is with my like optimized lifestyle, like pretty good diet, supplementation off the charts, everything's like spot on. And I don't abuse anything, dude. Like I don't touch orals. I don't, my frequency of administration's on point. My dosages are reasonable. Everything is basically optimized to maintain as optimal of a therapeutic replacement TRT protocol as possible, and yet I am still seeing barely a 40 on my blood test results. So, the majority of guys are not going to have perfect looking blood work, even on a, reasonable TRT dose. So for anyone to assert that it has no stress on the body whatsoever, it's kind of delusional in my opinion. Is it something that you can't survive through and thrive and potentially argue that your quality of life is better than otherwise? And then that totally offsets any kind of, negligible arbitrary number on a piece of paper that may or may not actually equate to real life deleterious outcomes, that's up for interpretation. And especially if we're actually talking about a guy who actually needs like TRT, obviously a little bit of a hit in your HDL pales in comparison to having, cardiovascular disease risk from like being hypogonadal and the myriads of things that come with having low test levels, feeling like trash, becoming, like pre-diabetic because you're so fat and you have no muscle mass on your frame, like so many different things that far outweigh the relative lack of, things that come into play when you're on like a reasonable like TRT dose. But when we're just comparing a guy who is like, presumably we're talking about a guy who's more on TRT for optimization, and naturally he would have otherwise had like a pretty decent, let's just say a natural who had like good production otherwise, and he's just like gone on the blast and cruise route for bodybuilding, and then after that he's come off and he's stuck on TRT now, would that guy be able to maintain the same level of stress naturally with that testosterone level versus on TRT? Like, I would argue probably not the same. It could probably be pretty close, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're never going to match the exact same genetic profile of a guy, like two identical clones. One's on TRT and one is, naturally, let's just say they're both like 20, 25 years old. One has like peak natural testosterone production. One is replicating that same level, but exogenously. Who's going to be the healthier guy? The natural is probably going to have less overall stress on his body, just at the end of the day. Is it significant enough to make it, a point that sways you one way or the other? It's kind of up for interpretation. It's kind of more depends on how much of a therapeutic necessity it actually is to bring into your life. Because, for some guys, it obviously is more than justified. And obviously for me, keep in mind, I preach, this stuff all the time, and I talk about the risks and the rewards and the blah, blah, blah. And like, for me, I see the, it outweighs it for me. So, just take that into mind in terms of, there's nothing in this world that is stress-free. Nothing comes for free. When you are replacing your hormones synthetically, you are not going to maintain the exact profile throughout your body in all aspects that you could naturally. It's just not going to work. You're throwing off cascades of hormones that are just not going to be replicated otherwise. Like, you can backfill certain pathways and try and like replicate a natural looking profile, and for the most part you can achieve that with like a high level of function and a high level of vitality and muscle building and blah blah blah, but you're never going to get like the same HDL level as a natural who has the same level of testosterone total. Realistically, it's just very, very, very rare to happen. Does that mean it has some sort of, massive consequence for you where you're guaranteed going to die like 15 years younger than the guy who was natural? No. And then obviously once you get into the weeds of if you're, like 50, 60 plus and you're not on TRT, there's people, or even younger, there's a lot of situations in which it's going to be less healthy to be natural than on TRT, potentially. Potentially. There is a debate for both sides here, and I'm not saying it's one or the other. I'm trying to lay out the facts. Nothing is stress-free, though, on the body that you're using, pretty much. So take from that what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hopefully you are enjoying these. How long was this one? 13 minutes and 48 seconds, so it wasn't that short, actually. So I'll try and keep it more bite-sized for some of these questions, but hopefully you enjoyed that one. If you want to see more bite-sized ones, let me know, and I'm going to try and knock out a few while I'm here still. And thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out my TRT clinic in the video description below if you don't want to get a cookie cutter doctor who basically haphazardly throws you on a pre-designed protocol that is not individually tailored for you. Reach out to my guys because they will not do that. They will actually look at your blood work and make an individual assessment based on your own personal needs rather than just, this is what everyone gets because this is the best thing for everyone somehow based on absolutely nothing. Anything else I'm associated with is in the video description below too. Gorilla Mind, Gorilla Mode, and the newsletter if you want to get sent my deep dives into bodybuilding pharmacology and endocrinology and risk management, safer practice models for PEDs and HRT and whatnot. Check that out. It's the first link in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.